Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to be on.
Back to Axon, and asked, do they have any and then we could show the commission maybe at the next meeting if they are able to produce those and make them available.
Thank you. And then my next question would be, is it working in other cities? Has any other city adopted this? And do we have anybody else in San Diego County or
Yes.
Southern California?
Well, I'll let you talk to it.
San Diego PD uses it now, and Kimberly has actually spoken with some of their folks over there at San Diego PD. I don't know if they're using the entire suite of products, but I know that they have it installed over there and a little bit before us, so I know they have a little bit more experience with how it's working and some of the other issues that have come up since they installed it.
And then my last is, again, so I understand, Assistant Chief, you have mentioned that it's not replacing dispatchers, which kind of sparks a light for me. So I know the dispatchers are a union represented
Yes.
classification, and are there any thoughts from them?
Yes.
Is it a buy-in? Is it gonna?
Yeah, and so all the feedback, at least it's filtered up to me, is overwhelmingly positive. They're looking for life preservers at this point. Imagine having 50% staff nonstop for years.
Right.
And I talked about the nature of the calls the avalanche that they're constantly hit with. They understand that, hey, we're trying to get you a resource that's going to help you. We're trying to provide you something that's going to help, lessen the amount of the workload that's flooding them. And so it's gladly welcomed.
Thank you. That's it for me.
Commissioner Chambers. Yes, I got a couple of questions. I appreciate your presentation as the lieutenant in charge of the San Diego Sheriff Dispatch Center. It was difficult, so this program, this software would have been great, especially when you have wildfires, you're setting up an incident command system, you're just doing all that. So I applaud you guys, and so this has always seemed like they're on the forefront of resources with the drone program and all this, so this is pretty good. But as the other commissioners have talked about, there could be some problems or hiccups, and I hope you guys are always looking at that as the program is going. And you talked about there was one point when you talked about the dispatchers, how's the tone and all that, and then as a union, is that going to come back on them on IA investigations and stuff like that,
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great concern. It was a concern for us and clearly for the employees. And being a union guy myself for going on 25 years, I certainly is one of the very first things I think of is taking care of our people. I look at it more of a training aid than a disciplinary measure, if you will. In a lot of ways, it's going to make us better, and we may not know. We have blind spots to where we're missing information. One of the key things I liked about this is that you set up the parameters, but it asks you to verify information. So if Commissioner Wood were to call it 911 and he gives me his information and I take for granted that I got his information correct. If I don't go back and ask him to confirm his return phone number, I may get a digit wrong, and now we can't get a hold of Commissioner Wood to follow up on the call. And so this is prompting that dispatcher, like, hey, on your last 10 911 calls, you only verified the return phone number 3 times. And so it gives them an opportunity, some instant feedback that they didn't know before because nobody had told them or they were unaware that they were doing that. And that's just a small example. But certainly, we can always be better. And I think that each of these tools make us to where we're able to have a little bit of self-reflection, a little more self-awareness. Instead of just hearing ourselves, now we get some feedback from something that is built to make us better. And certainly we don't know how it's going to roll out, but I don't foresee it being a tool to discipline our people and get rid of them, but simply to make them better, to train them, and they need more training. And we just, this is another great tool for that.
And to supplement that, I'm sorry, I just want to add to that, having had some conversations recently about this with some of our dispatchers, they're actually excited for the objective feedback because it's also, nowadays there's so much liability on the dispatcher as well. So with that civil liability risk kind of prevalent now, it's just like Lieutenant Bruzzi was talking about, it provides this somewhat checklist that we control the parameters on. So all of us in this profession, it's such a specialized skill set that these soft skills sometimes will go 3 years without taking a particular call for service. And that checklist is just kind of like a refresher training on the spot. And that reduces the liability for me, for the city, for the community, and that's really where it's all about. It's all about the public safety aspect for our dispatchers, and like I said, the really great thing about it is just it's an ongoing opportunity for refresher training, objective feedback, and reduce liability. And the liability aspect in our profession as dispatchers is huge. So.
Two more questions. As far as non-emergency, will this cover public works and animal control, or would I get a live dispatcher for that, for animal control and public works call-outs? Or would that be handled under the non-emergency?
So if somebody were to call in non-emergency for animal control or public works, if I understand the question correctly, it would, unless we set up a triage for that, which we certainly could, it will go directly to a human. So when they say, I need help with a loose dog or an injured animal, and that won't be something we have set up unless we go down that road. But I will tell you, each one of these are gonna have to be looked at and identified for all the what ifs and build it out. And that's kind of what Axon has told us, like, you guys get to decide how we approach this and how we build this out. So if that's not one of them, then they'll get a human like they would any other time, and then we'll do the call out to animal control or to public works like we always would.
And just to piggyback on Commissioner Voorhees, some questions about dialect, because there's cultural, and then there's also formal. So hopefully if you guys run across any problems like that, you can kind of dial it in, you know, speaking, because different Spanish, you know,
For sure.
you know, and speaking Spanish, and just all kind of dialect. There's always formal and cultural.
So that was something I really dug into when I was looking into this, because that's one of those things in my mind is like, oh, that's it sounds too good to be true. And I know that's something that they have worked on, and from the day that I first saw it to now, they've already gotten measurably better in doing exactly that. And again, it's not foolproof, so we've already talked about some of the redundancies, the human oversight for exactly that. And we're not terminating our language line services, certainly. And I believe in San Diego that they actually run them concurrently so that they can do exactly what we're talking about. But when we don't have that particular speaker, we can at least begin trying to save this person's life and get there to stop whatever's happening to them while we're waiting for the human. So certainly not replacing even the language line, because I still think that's really important for exactly that reason.
All right, thank you very much.
Absolutely, sir.
Hi, Commissioner Wood.
I have a list of questions. So hopefully I can get to as many of them as I can. First, I'd like to say, as you know, I'm very pro-technology, but it also has a place, and we shouldn't just be implementing technology for the sake of technology. Oh, gee whiz, this is great, let's do it. It's got to fit, right? And it's got to be reliable and accurate. So I don't think there's enough data, enough implementations out there yet to have anyone in the room have a high degree of confidence today that it meets that bar. So